So I'm Taylor Getwood. I am 23 years old, have been in Port Arthur all my life, in District 1. I'm a proud native of this area, proud graduate of Port Arthur ISD, graduating in 2020, the historic class, the COVID class, if have you, but one of the first graduating classes from Woodrow Wilson Early College High School, where I graduated with my associate's degree and high school diploma at the same time. I then went off to Texas Southern University, where I obtained my Executive Master's of Public Administration and Bachelor's of Mass Communications. I served on their Board of Regents after being appointed by the governor, Mr. TSU, and a plethora of things there. But Port Arthur has always been my heart. I've been here all my life, haven't seen much growth, haven't seen much about what we used to be or where we used to be, but know for a fact that we can be better than where we are now.
Can you kind of tell us a little bit of what are your key ideas or policies that are kind of driving your campaign right now?
No, for sure. So District 1 encompasses the Bean Paths, the west side of Port Arthur, downtown Proctor, all the way to Stadium and Proctor. It also encompasses some area right there by St. Mary's Hospital, which is now where our new animal shelter is. So we have a lot of opportunity within our district that we can actually start maximizing those opportunities and actually bring some benefits to the community. Some of the things that I have been cognizant of and just monitoring, if have you, is the growth of our city and what direction we're headed into. And that's going to be very pivotal to, of course, the area of District 1. I just mentioned Sabine Pass. As we experience and as you all have reported on, we've had explosions to occur within these past few weeks and past few months that we have to really make sure that we as a city are prepared. Having industry here is a benefit, but we have to make sure that industry and the community are on the same page to make sure that things like that, when they do happen, we're all on the same page and prepared for those types of instances. Also, too, you have to really consider the historic district of District 1. I always say there's no rationale as to why we are the first district, but I consider us to be a great district, a historic district, because of all the history we have here. Making sure that we're not forgetting that history. I'm 23 years old and I've never seen a downtown Port Arthur. Doesn't mean it can't be here, it just means it hasn't happened. And I think a lot of that is due to the leaders that we put in place that are having those conversations, that are planning those and making those decisions on our behalf. But most importantly, as I mentioned earlier with the opportunity, making sure that we're capitalizing on the opportunity within our district to not only benefit the city, but benefit the citizens of this city. Right now we're on the boardwalk. This is part of District 1. This is also an area that is an opportunity. If you look at it, if you come out here at night, lights aren't on, hasn't been any improvement or any renovations to the boardwalk itself. So we can't expect growth to happen here if we're not investing within it. There's so much opportunity just in this facet of the district alone, when we can start incorporating community back within our plans, community back within our heart, that drives all the decisions that we make. Of course, we have policies and ordinances that we have to continue to update and we have to continue to enforce, but none of that is going to matter if we don't have people here to enforce it with. And a big drive and a big part of our city is its people. I always say what makes Port Arthur is not the buildings, it's not the accolades, it's its people. And if its people are not having things to do, things to look forward to, then what's going to happen? They're going to leave. They're going to find somewhere else that's currently developing things that they can do, work-wise, economic-wise, community-wise. So that's a big part of what I'm looking to do.
And kind of stepping back a little bit to specifically District 1, we've reported on, you mentioned the Lyric explosion, but we've also reported on apartment complexes like Prince Hall.
Yes.
And they've had really poor living conditions, and that's going to be something that if you are elected, you're going to have to take care of now, those residents. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about, if you're elected, how will you make sure landlords are held accountable in order to prevent stuff like Prince Hall from happening?
That's a really great question. And my answer to that is the council has already moved forward in the right direction of putting policy in place, putting things in place to where we are actually holding our landlords accountable so they won't become slumlords. I think for me, personally, it's nothing new. Like I said, 23 years old, that apartment complex has been in that condition. The conditions have only gotten worse. I think what it takes is having a representative that's actually understanding of where the community is currently by getting out, being visible, by talking to those residents. That policies or those policy procedures that were put in place to help circumvent that from happening should have been in place, could have been in place. But it took something bigger. It took a report on the news. It took our state representatives to get involved for us to move forward as a city. Those things can be circumvented when you have a representative that is in place, that is going out, talking to the community, understanding their needs, but advocating for their needs at the city hall, where actually change takes place.
Is there something specific that you are looking into to possibly kind of help that community a little better, but also other apartment complexes in your district that are also kind of going through the same thing?
Well, it goes back to what we just answered with policy. Making sure that we have an actual policy that we can go back to that holds them accountable. And it also takes education as well, educating the citizens on exactly what is going on. I know it was a lot of speculation, a lot of people had different answers, but it was properly on. It wasn't even on under a HUD that we could actually intervene in and do something for, to my knowledge, from what information was given to us by council. So making sure that citizens are aware of the different types of properties that we have, making sure that they're aware of how they should be managed, but making sure that we as a city have something put in place to make sure that every citizen has the quality of life that they deserve to be of a good citizen.
And then kind of going back to the Valero explosion, that is also a plant that's going to be in your district if you are if you are elected. Sabine Pass is also one of those communities that was majorly affected as well, next to the Port Arthur community. And we've been speaking about Highway 87, that kind of is that one way in, one way out. Do you have any plans on how you're going to make possibly a safer access for that community that you're going to be representing?
For sure. I think when it comes down to, and it's not even I know for a fact, when it comes down to building a new road, especially something of that magnitude, it's going to take federal, state, and local entities to work together to get that done. But most importantly, we know for a fact that that's not going to happen next year. I think what's most important to that community and what's going to be most important to me as a representative is to make sure that we have those open conversations with industry to understand what are we to do if this happens again. What we experienced a few weeks ago is something that we can experience at any given point in time. And we have to make sure that our citizens are prepared, well-informed, and understand what to do in those instances. So I think it's going to cause and create a better partnership between industry and community, because that's what it should be anyway. We're partners. We're community partners. We should be able to have those tough conversations, but be able to leave with results and have an understanding as to, if this shall happen again, this is what we have to do on both ends, for their sake and for our sake, while also, too, in tandem, working to pave a new road. I've heard so many different plans from our current members of council. Our current councilman has also stated himself that, hey, maybe revitalizing Highway 87 might not be the way to go, just due to erosion. Maybe we need to look at paving a new way out. But more of the story, we know for a fact there needs to be another way in and out, because that's not viable, it's not safe for them, for the employees of that industry. But most importantly, we need to work on now, while we are establishing what that road looks like, or where it happens, or where it comes, or when it comes. We need change now, we need conversations now, and we need people to understand what to do if this happens again.
Why should folks vote for you? What exactly stands out about you compared to the other candidates?
For sure. I would say a lot of people look at my age as a deficiency, but I look at it as a plus. I always tell people at 23 years old, if I care this much about the city, and that should show you that we still have hope. I look at the city like we look at a church. You can tell the lifespan of a church by its youth. If the youth aren't in the church lifespan is very, very small. And why is that? Because that young adult choir is one day going to become the adult choir, which one day will become the seasoned saints choir. If we don't have the youth involved or engaged now, what do you expect? We have nothing for our youth. If we truly care about the future, it starts with investing in the future now. What we do now determines our future. I always love the example and the philosophy of the best way to create the future and the best way to predict the future is by creating where you start now. And so I think that one of the uniqueness that I bring is not only my age, not only my willingness to learn and my capacity to learn, but it's also too that I've been able to travel the world, been able to see the cities that are near and next to us and cities that are far from us, cities that can't even compare to us. Like you said earlier, the thing that makes Port Arthur is its people, but geographically what makes us Port Arthur is where we are. And it's so unfortunate that industry and companies can see our potential, but we don't even see our own potential. And we're the people that live here, the people that grew up here, and the people that have to stay here when industry is gone. So I think I bring a uniqueness in age, I bring a uniqueness in mindset, because we have to get out of one frame mindset. We have to get out of a one-way thinking mindset. We have to get outside the box and be creative, because that's what the world is causing for right now. That's what the world is calling for right now. It's calling for us to have people who are innovative, not just young, but combining our young people with our wisdom, their tenacity, their wisdom, and making the dream team to make this thing happen.
Is there anything else that you'd like to mention that maybe I haven't asked?
Our early voting is taking place right now. Early voting will close and conclude on Tuesday, April 28th. And of course, election day is going to be on Saturday, May 2nd. Get out and use your right to vote. This is your chance. This is your opportunity. I also want to thank you for this opportunity. We haven't had much of an opportunity to really get to the community all together on who we are and what we're about. But most importantly, the only way we're going to get this done is by getting people out to vote. We have a very small margin of numbers of people who get out to vote. We got to change that. We cannot let 400 people determine the trajectory of our city. So if you don't like something, get out and vote against it. If you like something, vote for it. It's the only way we're going to utilize our voice and utilize our right and move